Alright, I got a video right now that's coming because I've been watching a thing on Ron Paul. And by the way, this is an endorsement by this guy for Ron Paul, and I've been endorsing him privately here, not on YouTube, for some time. And he's my candidate because he's. I'm not voting for the man. I'm voting for me. And I was watching a video. Somebody subscribed to me, and they had this on their favorites, which was about his last presidential campaign, and it just wasn't, I mean, an eye opener. And it's hard to have something that's an eye opener to me because I read the news every day. Once I wake up, I read the news. It's the first thing I do. Well, I make my coffee, I read the news, and then when I come home from work, I read the news. And that's probably part of the reason I'm always pissed off. And most of the news media is slanted, and it's more slanted than I thought after watching this thing. But um, one thing that they didn't touch on in the video really pissed me off. And what it was, they weren't really talking about it, but every time I see this or hear this sort of thing, it really gets my goat. And Article 1, this is the first article in the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. It says this, and I've got to change all kinds of multiple pages because this thing only gives you a brief section of it and then has a billion things of commentary, which is supposed to tell us what it's supposed to mean. It says what it says, and you don't have to read what it's supposed to mean. Article 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, bypass the commentary, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, bypass all this commentary. Here's a couple pages. 3 pages, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. Now I'm going to stop there because every goddamn time, and pardon me, God, I love you, but God's name isn't God, it's something else. So if I just say the English word God, I'm not taking his name in vain. Every time I hear that somebody has to pay for a permit to assemble for a political candidate, or if you want to assemble on the street because you have a religious belief, or if you want to assemble on the street because you're gay or whatever you are, and I don't agree with that, but we're in a free society, okay? Government should have nothing to do with it, and according to the first article in the Bill of Rights, we have the right to assemble. So aside from this being as I stated at the beginning, my endorsement of Ron Paul, who I have contributed money to that I couldn't really afford, but I felt it was vitally important. That being said, this is another issue, and this is an issue that will explain why I'm endorsing Ron Paul. It's just one simple issue, and I could go down a list, probably from here to the moon, speaking about what the current establishment has been doing to us and continues to do to us, just like with our AAA rating going down credit-wise. And well, they did it to us, and we're supposed to be them. But we're supposed to fear the government as opposed to the government fearing us. The government is supposed to fear the people because if they get in there and do not exercise the will of the people that elected them, then they are supposed to tremble. But they get in there and they pass all kinds of bills, laws, and unconstitutional things and expect us to tremble at their signing of a document with a pen. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And it only works in this country, and it's soon not working because our country's falling, as you've seen my other videos. But when they affix their signature to something like that, that's treason. And that is government overriding the will of the people, when the will of the people put them in there to represent the people, us. Now you getting it? So why do we have to have, just on this one point, just one simple point, why do we have to pay or have in our possession a permit to exercise our freedom of speech when we decide to assemble? Because the first article of the Bill of Rights says we don't have to pay for it. Congress shall make no law. So how do they get around it? These city councils say, well, it just says Congress. So in other words, our city councils have more power than Congress by saying, well, it has nothing to do with Congress. We have more power than Congress in our city. And in part I agree with that when it comes down to the basic rights. But when they're infringing those rights, I totally disagree with it. And I was watching the video I spoke of earlier, and all the stepping stones they had to go through and what they had to pay, minuscule or not, to peaceably assemble. Now, as I read it, and as any young child would read it, we have the right to assemble, period, without paying for it. Just like I said, I could have a list that goes all the way to the moon about all the things we have a right to do that they force us to pay, and sometimes we are even jailed for it. Get back to sensibility. What would George Washington say? What would Thomas Jefferson say? What would all of our founders say? What would Andrew Jackson say? What would these people that the Federal Reserve so unkindly put on the money, because if all those people would have been against the Federal Reserve, what would they say about their image being placed on this antichrist system, as it were? You could call it anti-Muslim, you could call it antichrist, you could call it anything you want. It's anti-religion, because most religions, even if they're opposed to, I'm a Christian, but any religion is opposed to, ultimately, to human slavery. They may have problems between genders and that sort of thing as to who is free and who is not, and they need to work that out with God, because they got a problem. I mean, Christians sometimes do it too. I mean, it's not that's between the individuals and God, because God is the authority. Now, in this country, the Constitution is the authority, which also, oddly enough, which makes our country a dichotomy in a way, was inspired apparently by God, some form of God. Some say deists, some say Christianly inspired, some say other things. But throughout, if you go down to the jungles of South America, or the deepest parts of Africa, or wherever the hell you are, throughout all of human history, the idea of a higher being is always there, except in modern times. I'm, not sure what to think of that. But anyway, there's this innate sense of justice, and this innate sense in all of humanity that there is some power that grants us unalienable rights, as the document says. But no doubt, before too long, we'll have to pay for more of those unalienable rights before we can exercise them. And that's my rant tonight. But also, again, my support for candidate for president Ron Paul, because I think a vote for him is not a vote for the man. I think it's a vote for you and I. I would never vote for a man. or a woman. I would vote for a man or a woman who stands in the White House representing myself and my neighbors. Paul Harvey, good day.